quorum. I will call the meeting of the Conservation Commission for June 7th open, and I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes on May 17th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Since we have no new public hearings, we might as well open the continued ones. And since 227 South Elm and 223 South Elm are first, we might as well go with those.
The last time I came in, I just centered it on the path, but this is a more surveyed thing. What I did, John, was I picked the center line of the existing path and then offset it to create the 10-foot walking easement from along the river, across the back of the property, down, up on the berm, and over to the town's property. And this easement in the front was the easement that we wanted to give to the town to be able to repair the drainage if they needed to do so. And I think that was it. John's not had a chance to look at this, so I'm giving this tonight, and I don't know whether you want to close the meeting, issue the order, subject to the getting the recording information from the easement being recorded, or whatever your pleasure is.
Is that an existing trail now, or one that has to be worked out?
You can walk it.
You can.
Yeah, you can walk down here.
Yeah.
I think the place that would be the hardest is this little section here that's in the back of the property. But you can walk through here, and this is walkable because
It's just,
the deer use it.
yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have any 6-foot deer around here, but
No moose.
no moose,
Yeah.
that's it.
Not
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, moose, and you'd be looking at a bulldozer going down through the woods. But we made it 10 feet so that you go either side of something, and we had talked about not making it a straight path, but just making it something for people to wander on.
No chance of off-road vehicles roaring through there.
I haven't seen anybody try it. They mostly are down on this property here.
Yeah.
And I've seen a couple of times them try to get out into the meadow,
Yeah.
but you notice that all of a sudden there's planks and limbs and stuff, and
Yeah.
they got stuck.
All right, sounds good. John, do you have anything?
As Bob noted, I haven't seen that plan, and I'll have to take a look at it. But based on all the preceding discussions that we've had, the agreements that have been reached regarding the items on these two lots, the house lot and the, I'll call it the farmhouse lot, greenhouse lot, it is my feeling that we need to have some easement documents that can get recorded, and I think we can handle that through an order of conditions, special condition that requires it prior to any work being started, that the documents be prepared, submitted, and approved by the commission, so that I think at this point my recommendation is that unless some of the commission members have some other feelings, that we could close the hearing and issue a order of conditions with those special conditions.
Anybody have anything else?
No.
Anybody in the audience questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Right.
So moved. I will entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions with special conditions regarding the easements and recording of, and I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And a motion to allow the a motion to waive the delineation fees in lieu of granting the access for the applicant's future petition. Waive in lieu of granting of the access easement in the applicant's future petition to the court to dismiss the pending legal matters.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And for the continued hearing on number 2, which would be for 323 South Elm.
See
can I-
above.
Right, can I entertain a motion to make all 3 from above the same for this?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Would you read that motion to me again, the last one?
For
It's in the-
323, it's gonna be the same
Same
motions
drawing.
as above.
Okay. That was easier than I thought.
And that being said, you're good to go.
Good. Sometime in the future, if you ever want to sit down and have a public discussion about wildlife management on areas that are within the commission's control, not necessarily your property, but it's always kind of bothered me is that you have like a 50-foot no disturb zone,
Right.
but it's never a 50-foot maintained zone. In New England, it likes forest and doesn't like ponds, doesn't like fields. And sometimes it might be, you might be able to keep some of that habitat open by if somebody had a field that was in the 50-foot no-bill zone, you make it a continuing condition that that's gotta be mowed biannually to keep it open. And I think that West Bridgewater has enough left that it might be something to entertain. But if you do, just
I think
put
it's
me
a good
on your
idea.
list to give a call. I'd be interested in discussing it with you.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put that on there.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a good
Thank
night. Enjoy the cool.
And we have continued public hearing for 10 Woodrow Lane. And John, can we open these both together?
Yeah, I would say.
Before I will reopen number 9 Woodrow Lane and number 10 Woodrow Lane.
Good evening. Since the last meeting, well, for the record, my name's Peter Lavoy. I'm the project engineer on this project. So since the last meeting, there were a couple of concerns at the last time I was here. The first concern was the drainage and the road location. So basically what we did is we did a full as-built of the drainage on Woodrow, and we also verified the recorded plans that were at the registry and the location and the drainage to our, they satisfy our comparison of the proposed plan. The as-built that we did was a preliminary one because most likely they're gonna have to revise the rims when they do the final paving and any other additional, but we did certify the drainage that it was in the correct place, and we did pull all the inverts on all the structures, and we showed that on the as-built. And then another question had come up about recording the conservation easements on all these lots. Now, if you look at the recorded plan, it shows all the conservation easements already on the definitive plan, so they would be recorded. They're already recorded with the Registry of Deeds. And I do have the book and page if you wanted to write that down to verify that. It was Plan Book 56, page 612, and that was recorded 6/6/2011. So if you, that'll verify that.
Happy birthday.
That'll verify that all the it has all the areas and it's all described on the definitive plans. I think that was the two major things. That was the only thing. I figured that the board would add a condition on lot 6 or 10 Woodrow to provide that fence along the 50-foot. Make that a condition to the plan. Besides that, I don't know if you have any other questions or if anyone has any questions.
Anybody have any questions, comments? John?
I know we have some abutters, so
Yep.
we want to make sure we hear what they have to say.
Yep.
But I have reviewed the as-built, and it does compare, and it does verify that the cul-de-sac is in its right place. I imagine that the differences with some of the abutter alignments were either optical illusions or the fact that the accuracy of identifying where abutters are isn't as important as the physical features of the subdivision itself. So it may have been not that important to the engineer to indicate who's who that abuts the property and where their property line approximates abutting the property. So that being said, I really don't have any issues with this, and I would be interested in seeing if the abutters still have some concerns.
Any questions, comments?
One of my questions is, you had said some kind of drainage that comes through, are you gonna be cutting down more trees along that tree line?
No. No, the
So
tree line that's
maybe
out there
there's-
is gonna stay
So
there.
that's gonna stay?
Yeah, there's gonna be no
That's
more clearing
the
on those lots.
few big trees that are left?
Yep,
That
those will
is like the last one and, yeah.
Right, no,
those
that
stay.
tree line will stay.
Anything else?
Guess it's an optical illusion.
All right.
Then, having heard what the abutters had to say, I would recommend that you close the public hearing on both of these and issue an order of conditions. I do feel that on this particular, these two particular lots, that we should have a conservation easement recorded that refers to that plan.
And we'll also have the stakes and the signs.
Yes.
and
Yep.
the
Are you
stable.
gonna ask for the fence along the no
Yes.
disturb? Cause you
Yeah.
specifically said that, especially on 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
It'll be spelled out in
in the order?
order.
Okay, cause sometimes they can put the signs right on the fence or.
Right.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
And a motion to issue a standard order of conditions with the mentioned special conditions added.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you.
You good?
Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thanks for getting the as-built done.
No problem. It was funny because I was leaving for vacation and then John went on vacation and I couldn't get back in time, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your input.
Done and done.
Number 5, certificate of compliance.
This is a certificate of compliance for the new Russell Funeral Home on South Main Street, number 441. And I've done the inspections. I've also received all the documents that are necessary. And they've recorded their conservation easement. So we're in good, they are in good shape, so I'm recommending that you do issue the certificate of compliance without a bond because the grass is growing.
I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance with no bond.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, item number 6.
I handed out this evening a release form that was sent to me by a film company who would like to do a filming of the Hockomock Swamp Bay Circuit Trail area, and included with one of their clips, they want to have a campsite with one of the people spending the night in a tent, and the film crew would film that location and the setup. So it's a pretty standard release form. It indemnifies the town from their injuries if they occur, and it does require us to provide them some privacy in what they are doing so that we don't take advantage of that for our PR purposes, because they're trying to put this all together to use it for TV or films. And so that's all pretty standard as well. And I do have a camping application that we've approved in the past that Kitty has drawn up. And if the commission so desires, I can sign it on your behalf and send it to them and give them a permit to camp overnight. And I'm recommending to them that they camp at the Boy Scout campsite that the Eagle Scout made on Holmes's Hill. And that way it's already an established spot. It's not creating this new campsite. And I think it'll serve their purposes.
Sounds good to me.
Very comprehensive.
I'll entertain a motion to allow John to sign the release for initial camping permit.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Motion for the land grant? for
Oh,
Cassiotas? Excuse me.
what'd I do, skip one?
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry. We have received a copy, and I gave you the page and a plot plan that shows a land grant that is part of the 40B development that Natural Heritage has required the developer to restrict for no development, no further activity because of the endangered species out there. And it's 110 acres, and it pretty much covers the whole field from the edge of the wetlands all the way out to the river, but not quite in some spots. They left a little strip for whatever purpose, I don't know, but at this point, they've signed it, the family signed it. It needs an acceptance by the commission and an acceptance by the Board of Selectmen. So if you do decide to vote to accept it, I could get the original documents here pretty soon, like for maybe the next meeting, and have it endorsed at that meeting. And then we have to forward it to the Board of Selectmen.
What's the land like, John? It's
So-
all wet or?
It's the part that's been farmed for cornfields.
Yeah.
And then a good part of it's wet during the wet season, but dry enough so that you can walk it during the summer months.
Anything we could use, could you put fields in there, or athletic fields?
No, if they were just conveying it to us for multi-use purposes, we could, but Natural Heritage specifically said no activity out there because they don't want the blanding turtle and some of the other endangered species get disturbed, yes. So it'll pretty much go back to what it was before Cassiotas cut it all down and farmed it. But yes, it would have been nice to have a section that we could,
Utilize for, other than just passive walking.
I know. Oh, well.
Well, I think it's worth accepting.
Sure.
I- I know it means taking it off of the tax rolls, but what are we really?
Well, we don't have much choice, do we?
Yeah.
I mean, if National Heritage, what would they do?
well, if you said that you didn't want to accept it, they would have to come up with another 110 acres somewhere that they own. And there's really not enough land left to make that up if that wasn't the ideal spot. Like, say, it's here and you felt that you wanted it to be over here and you wouldn't accept this one, but you would accept this. They don't even have that. So there really, I think it boils down to there really isn't much choice other than saying, no, we don't want it. And then I think that would pretty much kill the 40B. However, saying that, if they went to housing court and said, we've done our due diligence, we've done all the engineering, and because the town just felt they didn't want a 40B in their town, they denied us by not accepting the land that Natural Heritage wants us to restrict. The judge would say, that's ridiculous, and probably overrule the town and make the town accept it.
And they could really just give it to the state anyways. I would think that
That's
Fish and
true.
Game could accept it on
You know,
Fish and Game's behalf, and then,
or a land trust.
right. So I mean, there are other options.
That's true.
Realistically, we might,
we'd lose the tax revenue
no matter what. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, and this, they're coming to us as first options, which,
And this is where the species, the endangered species is. right?
Yes.
if we have control of it, then
If there's no advantage to saying, I don't think we want that, and make them give us something that we could do something with, you don't think that would fly?
No, because the whole purpose of the restricting it is to protect the endangered species.
Yeah, so
This has nothing to do with that property across from the conservation area on the Ash Street?
No,
No.
no.
That's completely separate.
Yes. Still working on that one.
okay. So that being said, I will entertain a motion to accept.
But before you do that, I think you really made a good point, Tim, is that if the Conservation Commission doesn't take it, some land trust would, which is basically a land trust for conservation purposes, or they could sell it to the Fish and Wildlife, so it would take it off the tax roll anyway.
Right, so the tax roll really isn't, it's a moot point. I mean, at least if we have some jurisdiction over it, if one of the universities or colleges wants to do research projects, we
Yep.
have a say and we can be partnered with it or have
we
some,
own it.
right, it's our
Yeah.
control.
We
So, I
can
mean,
walk it, we can manage it.
maybe some parts of it.
Right, I mean, you can, I'm sure, make passive trails for walking trails through it.
Or utilize the existing ones that are out there,
Yeah,
so.
okay.
That being said, I'll entertain a motion to accept the land grant from the Hasiotis family.
No, I'll make the motion.
Oh, second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
So I'll forward that vote to the Board of Selectmen for their action.
Okay.
Number 8, we have an outstanding balance with WB Mason.
Yes, so Kitty and I have been working with WB Mason and the town accountant to try to straighten out an account that we have at WB Mason, and the accounting for the town is done where they pay an invoice, and they don't pay from a statement. And-
Sounds very familiar, Joe.
So the statement shows a credit, and we don't have an invoice that reflects the balance due. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pay our last invoice. Dale will send us a cash refund for the credit rather than just carrying it on a statement. And what we'll try to do from now on is when we do get a credit from them, we'll ask them to return the money to us rather than just carrying it on a statement. But we have to do this before the end of the fiscal year.
Formality more than anything.
Yes. Yep. So we did incur the expense, it's just that we don't have an invoice for the amount minus the credit.
Yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to pay the invoice and receive the credit.
I'll make that
Moved.
motion.
Seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
And number 9. Just yesterday, I was scouting out the 3.5 acre parcel of land up off of Spring Street, south of the Walnut Street subdivision where Pearl Street was created. And it's way in the woods, landlocked, can't get to it except for cart paths and right-of-ways. And so I spent quite a bit of time just walking around in the woods looking for stone walls or anything that could indicate a property corner or property line. And if it weren't for the fact that the Department of Fish and Wildlife had a forester out to blaze what they feel is their property line, which abuts our town parcel, I would have never found it without going into surveying, and that would be costly because it's so thick out there that you could hardly see 20 feet in front of you, and so you'd need to have brush lines cut and surveying instruments out there to be able to accurately measure where you are. You can't pace it. You can sort of estimate distances, but I quickly found that wasn't working with the thick brush. So
What is that brush? The vines, you mean?
Vines
What are
and,
those? They're everywhere.
there are green briars and also multiflora rose. And so having a handheld GPS unit I'd be able to download the coordinates from the mapping, the Massachusetts Interactive Mapping, and be able to approximate the corners to within the accuracy of a handheld, which is anywhere from 3 meters to 5 meters off, depending on the canopy over you, the number of satellites and all that. So Kitty and I were looking at, and we have a number of these parcels, and I've just avoided trying to go out and identify where they are so that we can try to get people to utilize them and walk on them. And yesterday's was kind of necessary to go out, and couldn't put it off any longer because it was being requested by the Board of Selectmen's office to determine where it's located. And we looked at the budget, and we have some money in the budget, so that I thought it was a good possibility that we could use it for now and in the future.
Sure.
So recommending that that I be authorized to purchase one that's up to, not necessarily what I necessarily purchased, but up to 600 that I put in there?
Yeah. And I wanna throw out there, I'll entertain that motion, but if a donation of one comes in that is compatible for what you need to do,
Yeah?
you may have a free one.
Oh, we'd be more than happy to accept
So,
it.
We may be able to save that money from the budget for something else.
Okay,
What was the cap on it?
600.
600. So I will entertain a motion to allow the agent to spend up to 600 for a GPS unit unless a free one comes in.
I'll make that motion.
We'll second it.
Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Is there anything we can, I remember as a young man being able to walk through the woods that now you can't go 3 feet without. Is there anything that can kill those things, or?
Activity. Usually, if you have people out utilizing them, it'll stay down in
They hold them and back they come again.
Yep.
They're brutal.
Get goats.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll eat them through down to nothing. After a couple of years, you won't
Do
have
they
them
eat
back.
everything else, though? or-
Yeah, they'll clean everything for you.
Yeah.
Yep, they,
But it seems as though you used to be able to just wander, and now everything's overgrown.
That's because we were littler when we were little.
Huh?
We were littler when we were little, so you could get underneath a lot of these
Well,
places.
I guess, yeah.
One of the problems with areas around the Bridgewaters is that it's there's so plentiful amounts of groundwater that
So,
feeds
yeah.
the vines and things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's not like, once you get up onto a higher terrain
Yeah.
and well-drained soils, then there's plenty of room to walk and not have to fight them because they don't grow in that type of
Yeah,
environment.
That makes sense, yeah.
Getting there from here.
That's right.
So that we do have a few of those areas, but Bridgewaters tend to
Yeah.
have,
Oh, they're brutal.
and that's it.
And the only other thing was the proposed floodplain regulation, which
I gave you another copy of it.
Right, which you gave up tonight, which I had suggested everybody take a look at. I don't know whether you're ready to make a decision of adding these to our regulations.
I don't see any problem with it.
We'd have to hold a public hearing, advertise, hold a public hearing, but by a vote, you'd be able to then go through that process.
So,
And was it discussed, the selectmen also has to approve, the board of selectmen have to approve it?
Not the regulation.
No?
yeah, we just have to hold one public hearing, but
How does this relate to the warrant for the town meeting? Is it they related? in any way?
Separate bylaws you have to have passed at town meeting,
Yeah.
but regulations that were allowed or enabled by having a bylaw already on the books only requires a public hearing, advertising in the paper so everybody knows what it's all about, and be able to come into a public hearing and ask questions, make suggestions, or object, and then a final vote of the board or commission that's proposing the regulation. Whereas the bylaw requires 2/3 vote of the town meeting.
This one.
this is just a regulation, so it's just a public
So-
hearing in us versus
Yeah,
the
I'm
whole
in.
town meeting.
Yeah.
And all we're regulating are basically floodplain or flood zones.
Okay.
I may be wrong on that 2/3, because that may be zoning requires 2/3, but maybe a regular general bylaw only a majority, but I'm
Get
not,
something on the books.
Right, and the other one also with the bylaw, it has to be Attorney General reviewed, where this is not reviewed. So it just goes on until somebody challenges it, and it's off to Superior Court,
So,
so.
I'm in favor.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we move with a public hearing.
Make a motion, make a motion.
Second.
Move in second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Yes.
I have a scheduling idea on this, because we will want to have a full board when we have that public hearing. We have one meeting coming up in July, I think it's on the third Tuesday. Would that be when you would like to schedule this? We only have one meeting left in this month, and John won't be here.
19th work for everybody?
Is that?
Of July. I mean, I just know July's vacation month, so.
19th, let me look. I won't be here. I'm on
You are?
vacation. I won't.
You won't.
There's a week in July.
So now we're putting it up to August.
August 2nd?
I'll be around.
Is it second? Yeah, I think that's the Tuesday, yep.
I
That's
won't be here.
What months do we not meet generally?
And we meet all 13 months of
just
the year.
July, the ones in
July,
July.
we'll meet once.
Okay, that's what I remember.
In December, we may or may, we
Yeah.
typically have had a business meeting, but we've been busy, so we've had regular scheduled
Yeah,
meetings.
August is fine. I mean, does that affect timing or anything?
How about just so that, we can make sure we get the proper, ads, it may require 2, might have to have a certain number of days in between, I'll have to research all that. So why don't we make it the 16th of August?
Is that good for everyone?
I can do that.
Should we?
Yeah, okay, August
I think
16th.
some week I'm on, I can't remember what week I'm on vacation.
You what?
I can't remember which week I'm on
Well, you
vacation.
need,
in
you need a
August, but
quorum,
We just need a quorum,
Yeah.
but as many of us that can be,
cause it's.
I
It
think
would be
that
good
works
because
okay.
this is a-
I think it's this, we come away the 8th, so I think it's.
double check, let Kitty know, and we'll,
All right.
at this point, shoot for the 16th.
Okay.
And that'll give us time to get it posted and get anything else we need to. The only other thing on this is ideas for the Wild and Scenic Taunton River Grant for fiscal 2017, which Kitty sent out information, and I kinda said, an idea, providing town meeting goes the way we hope it does, and the Williams parcel is accepted, that would be a really good spot to apply for matching or grant money to do stuff with. Putting in canoe landing, ramp, picnic area, signage, anything that would,
Picnic tables.
right, be related to
Restaurant.
making that concession stand, clubhouse.
I think that's a good idea.
But
Great.
that would be, I mean, and I know it's a tight window, and we won't know until next Monday whether that all flies through, but
Right.
I don't expect there to be a problem on this one.
Well, I'm willing to go to write out the grant proposal. And I know that idea for the, would it be called the Williams Landing?
Well, we don't know that yet.
Right, we haven't come up, I mean, I'm just using that because that's who the
Yeah.
current landowner is.
I know, but it sounds good, actually.
I mean,
Sounds
Well,
good, right?
there's some ideas that are floating out there, and what I didn't know was whether, as soon as the town acquires it, through the deed and all of that, if maybe part of this proposal would be a drawing of what everyone wanted, so you would have a visioning on site, and then you could get all of the elements that everyone thinks might be the thing to have there, so that then this would be some type of the planning that takes it to the next level.
I think the money would be better spent to create something or do something rather than planning.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think,
Tangible things.
yeah, tangible, something that's visible that they can,
Okay.
Because we can always do all that planning even on
Well, we're
a
only gonna
sketch.
have one meeting, and you won't be there, which is the 21st. So if I'm gonna write this, someone has to help me make up this stuff pretty quick.
I mean, how much of a grant is it, or do you apply for?
It's the same thing that we had gotten last year, and we got it through the Nuckatassin Greenway project, so that it was a matching grant, and this would be for $2,500, and we have a wee bit of cash left from our last one, but we could find some new benefactors, so that it could be up to $5,000 that we would have to enhance something there.
By the way, I think, I may be wrong, but the fact that the commission is spending its own money to buy this as well as using some CPA money,
Yeah.
I think isn't that worthy of a match?
yeah.
I like the way that man thinks.
Up to 2,500.
Now you can go on vacation, John, if I have to make this thing up. That's good thinking.
As,
but
as,
that's-
as usual, you can reach me by email on
I
vacation.
know.
Anything else?
I do have one more suggestion, that it's a segue to what you mentioned about if town meeting goes well. We need the votes for the town's, the article about the River Street land, the stormwater bylaw, and the illicit discharge bylaw. I think they're 41 and 42, don't quote me, but I think those are the two numbers for the bylaws. And then for the CPA money, I think it's 17, but again, don't quote me. Check out your town warrant, but I think those are the correct numbers. There are some additional bylaws at the end of the warrant that are somewhat related to sludge. I don't know enough about them to be able to speak for them or against them at this point. I'm gonna do some research on it. But definitely I'll be at the town meeting to talk about the stormwater and the
Thank you,
illicit.
because I've been asked to present them and read them into town meeting, but, I mean,
On
the
the
William,
stormwater.
the
there
Williams-
appears to be
yeah.
good backing for
Right.
everything we have
I
to do
mean,
there. and
the
get
Williams
ahead
one
of
I
it.
can speak somewhat to, but the other two, I mean, I'll read them in because it's conservation supported and that's who's bringing them forward, but I thank John for being there to explain if there are questions that come up, because
Yeah, and
way
David
over.
made it, he said this is serious business.
Right, we need to have it done.
Yeah,
I mean,
this isn't just something you,
we wish for, it's something that we
Yeah.
really need.
Yeah.
I mean, it's-
Last, not last, May 23rd. I remember it well because it was my first day back from being on vacation, and I had to go to an EPA meeting where they talked about this new permit that that will go into effect July 1st, 2017. And one of the participants in the room said that in their particular town, they've been having some trouble trying to pass the bylaw for stormwater. And wanted to know if the EPA person had any recommendations. And they did, but they prefaced the recommendation with the fact that this is not a voluntary program that the EPA is putting out there. It's mandatory. We don't have a lot of say in it because it's part of the Clean Waters Act. And he did go on to say that if any particular town, which they may regret they offered this, but they need help, they'll come to the town to talk to the people about it. But it is definitely one of these things that we don't have a lot of option. We just try to make it work well for the town and do the requirement, but not put too much of a burden on all of the town residents.
Alright. Anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Yay.
So moved. We're adjourned.
I love it.